everyone. And you might have seen my face pop up in the midst of that. It's because I was desperately trying to get the Twitter link going. But the internet, I swear to goodness, it is all going so slow. I think it's because the whole world are on the internet at the moment with remote learning and Zoom calling and, book clubs, all of that sort of thing, book salons. So I have now put the tweet up there on YouTube. So if you are watching, would you mind doing me a favor? Would you mind going on and retweeting? So, and if, I've also got to remember, just wait, mute it. Sorry, I'm learning so much today. So yes, first time ever we have done this live on YouTube. I'm so excited. The Tiny Voice Talks book salon live on YouTube. And tonight we are delving into the emotion of books. I have the fabulous guests with me again today. I've got Vashti Hardy, I've got Richard O'Neill, two amazing authors, and joining them, two fabulous educators, Sharifa Lee and Rich Simpson. And yes, Rich Simpson is doing he is doing book recommendations, but he has been given a time limit this time. Whether or not he'll stick to it, I don't know. I very, very much doubt it. Can I ask you a favor? If you're out there on YouTube watching us, can you just put a comment, let us know who you are, where you're from, and what you do? That would be great, just so that we know who's there watching us. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to bring on the guests. I'm going to bring on Rich Simpson. Rich, just saying, you have been given a time limit, haven't you?
Have I?
Yes, you have. We were very, very clear about it, Rich, and it wasn't half an hour.
Okay, I'll try.
Good job. And Vashti Hardy, how are you today? Oh, I've lost Vashti. Well, we've got internet problems, people. So at the moment, Vashti and Richard O'Neill are having internet problems. So we'll bring on Sharifa Lee, who I know hasn't got an internet problem at the moment. So how are you, Sharifa?
Not yet. What I'm doing is actually tweeting out live to say that we are on live and come and join us. And,
yay! Well, we've got 8 people watching. That's amazing. I'm just really pleased that there are 8 people watching us, seeing as I'd never, ever before last night used YouTube, and Hazel Pinner was a little love because I decided today that I would have a little go to see if it worked. So I messaged Hazel Pinner and just said, are you there? Can you watch this? And God bless her, she checked that it worked. Hazel Pinner says, Rich, that you won't stick to your time limit. And Holly Ruffy is also here. So thank you, Holly, for joining us. At the moment, Richard and Vashti have both disappeared due to internet problems, but hopefully they will be back. So, Rich, I'm going to come to you. How did we come across this theme? Let's go back for those people that didn't watch it last time. How did we end up with the theme of delving into the emotion of literature?
We were. I think I'd recommended a few books and talked about some of them. And
then you talked about weeping a lot.
Yeah, and one of the books was one that I admitted made me cry, and will stick with me, I think, forevermore, probably. Some of the scenes in the book and some of the things that the characters went through just moved me. The experience of these characters and the children in this book in particular caused me to stop reading for a minute and have to take a minute to think and gather my thoughts and carry on. It was this one. That's my first recommendation. There's one. It was this book, After the War, by Tom Palmer, who's a brilliant children's author anyway. Writes lots of books that I've used over the years that have engaged reluctant readers. Sports-based books. He does rugby and football books and things like that in the past as well. But he's, I think more recently, started doing some historical fiction based around the war. He's got one called Armistice Runner as well that I think was nominated for some awards recently. And this one that came out this year, After the War. It's called From Auschwitz to Ambleside. And it's the story of Jewish children who survived the concentration camps, who were brought to this country and put up in the Lake District on an old estate there and looked after because their families had been killed during the war. And these children arrived with these terrible experiences, not quite sure where they were going or what was happening to them, and the way that the community there looked after them, and the way the boys sort of found themselves again, is just an incredible story, and I think more moving in the fact that it's based on a real story. I've read, I think we've probably all read and seen lots of books about what life was like for the children and for people in the concentration camps. We've got, Once, and we've got The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, and we've got lots of stories like that are at the time. So the experience then, the thing that moved me about this book is it's how do they deal with having been through that and lost everything, and how they move on. It's just really cleverly told. It's told in the present tense, but then with flashbacks. So you've got these three boys and their experiences and what happens, and they're brought to the camp. But the whole way through the book, things that happen to them take them back. And it was the flashbacks that got me with this one. A couple, they're brought by an airplane and they land. And as they're getting off the airplane, the pilot comes out to speak to the boys. And he's wearing a military uniform. And the military uniform just sets them all on a flashback to the last time someone gave me orders and they were in a military uniform telling me to get on a mode of transport. Well, it wasn't a good result. And it's just so moving. The flashback in particular that really gets me is where I'm going to have to be careful now. I haven't got any tissues ready. I need to be careful. The flashback that really got me in this one, and it's going to stick with me for a long time, is the boys are playing with some younger children that they've been asked to look after, and they're helping out with the younger children. I think that's part of them getting to grips again with caring about life and caring about things. And they have a pillow fight, and one of the pillows bursts, and the white feathers floating down from the ceiling set one of the boys off on a flashback. And the last time that he saw white things floating down from the sky was when he was in the concentration camp. And they weren't feathers, they were the ashes from the crematorium. And it's just one of the most moving scenes that I think I've seen or read in a book. And it's going to stick with me for a long time. It's making me emotional even thinking about it now. It's just brilliant writing. It's a really, really moving theme anyway, isn't it? But to write it in such a way that it's accessible for children, without dodging the horror of the war and dodging the experience, but making you feel for the characters and what they went through. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant book.
Well, Louise Elliott completely agrees with you. She said that she's just read it. Absolutely amazing. And she said that scene got to her too. Now, I believe we have Vashti. I believe Vashti's technicals are now working. Vashti Hardy, are you there? No. Still not there. Oh my goodness. Vashti and Richard are having an absolute nightmare with their technicals today. Okay, so Rich, thank you so much for that. I'm going to come on to you, Sharifa. What book? Oh, just wait. I've got Vashti. She's there. She's there. I'm getting her while she's there. I'm not even stopping. I'm getting her on. Just to prove you are actually there, Vashti, and it's not me just making it up.
How long it's going to last? I'm just having the worst tech week. I bet I'm not alone though. Honestly, it's just I'm switching between my hotspot, Virgin's cutting out, and then it's telling me I'm about to run out of data. So if I disappear, I'm so sorry.
While I've got you, and I hope you don't mind, Sharifa, but while I've actually got Vashti, and she's not got a technical issue at the moment, Vashti, Rich has just talked about a book that has really, really moved him. Tell me about a book that's really moved you, that's really caused you to actually delve deep into your emotional sort of being.
Oh, so many, and I caught a snippet of Rich's then, and I heard you mention Once, which wasn't the book that I was going to talk about. But do you know what? Just linking into that, I think Once is one of those books that really does, like emotionally, it packs such a punch, doesn't it? Because the scene in that, it's the innocence of, I can't remember what the boy's called in it.
David. Is it David?
Yeah, Yeah, it's been a while since I've read it. Maybe, yeah, but let's call him David for the sake of it. But that character, he sees everything with such innocence, and because of that, you're taken, like, the emotion of it goes straight to the heart. And there's a scene where a soldier points a gun at him from the back of a car, and he's going to shoot him, and the car hits the van hits a rock or something, and the shot misses the boy, and he rationalizes it by saying, "Oh, poor soldier, he was just having a laugh, you know, trying to give a kid a thrill by showing his gun, and he could have hit me then, that was lucky." And you know that soldier meant to shoot him. So that innocent point of view, actually, and then that links in quite well with the book that I was going to talk about, which is for slightly older. It's not a middle grade book, but this is something from school that stayed with me forever, I think, a little bit inside. And that's a lot about innocence, seeing things through innocent eyes. In a nutshell, it's called The Cone Gatherers by Robin Jenkins, and it's set in, I think it was published about 1955, set in World War II, 1943, on a Scottish estate. And two brothers, Callum and I forget his name, Neil, are sent to gather cones because the wood is being used for the war effort so that they can replant the trees afterwards. And the lady of the estate, Lady Runcie Campbell, has a bit of an aversion to these workers on her land. And there's a gamekeeper, Jura, really sort of great protagonist. He develops a real hatred for one of the brothers, Callum, who has a disability. He's got a hunchback, quite sees the world with very innocent eyes again, and Jura just gets this obsession for him. But you know, that emotion that it takes you through, of like injustice of it all, and you know, how people can't help, you know, the situation they're born into. I think there's a bit that Neil says, one of the brothers, he says something like, "We're all humans just like them." And that sort of, when I was growing up at school, you know, we weren't very wealthy, and that the whole idea of, you know, why some people are born with more, and this unlevel playing field packs quite an emotional punch, I think, when you're kind of experience that as a child, and what the world could hold for you possibility wise. And this book's got so much symbolism in it of different, you know, humans' relationship with nature and social inequalities and how we treat each other unequally, yet we're, like Neil says, we're all humans. And these are themes that kind of stayed with me, I think, from that book, and I'm naturally interested in, and I explore in my books in some way or another, like with Brightstorm, with the social inequality that goes on in Lontown with the explorers and things like that. So yeah, quite I was talking very fast then because I was thinking it's going to cut out on me.
You're still there, which is great. Don't disappear, because I'm going to ask Sharifa if she can now talk about, so what books have really impacted on you emotionally, Sharifa?
Well, I was reflecting on our discussion, you know, sort of when we first came on the last time we were here together as well. And we talked afterwards, you know, when we finished recording as well, the books that hit you in the gut, they just hit you, they give you goosebumps. And I was just reflecting on something that the great Billy Connolly said. And I don't know if anyone watched his last interview that was on ITV. I think it was last week, the week before. And I remembered once where he was sitting under a tree reading this book in Australia, because he travels the world or whatever it is. And then he said something that just resonated with me. He said that there's some books that hit you and you feel, you know, you feel all the emotions all packed in, but afterwards you can't even remember what you read. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you can't remember the book or the characters, but what you remember is the way it made you feel, you know, and you come back because it's packed a punch. And, you know, you dream about it, you wake up or you're walking and suddenly it hits you again. You know, it's a theme in the book. And for me, it's all those books, you know, and we talked the other week as well about this, about those books. And I did ask, could could they not just be children's books? Because they're books over the years that I have read that still stays with me. And sometimes, like Vashti there, you do forget the names of characters. You do forget some scenes, but then you come back and you think there's something about the book that resonates with your life right now. And a lot of the books are about social injustices because you see it around you, and then it hits you. You start reflecting. And one of the books that we talked about, if only Richard was here, is actually East of Eden. And that was a gift. That was a gift for me. And I don't know whether the person who gave it to me is actually online listening to us right now. And I read it cover to cover. It is an absolutely brilliant book because it talks about, and there's this theme again about two brothers, and you talk, Vashti, about brothers, and in there are about brothers and how they are almost the Cain and Abel. You go back to that Old Testament and whatever it is, and how their lives are similar because they are brothers, and how it diverges because of class differences, because of social injustices. And then it comes back to the end and it wraps it up quite beautifully in one word. And the word, and we explored that, in our previous discussion, is timshel. It's an old Hebrew word, timshel. I hope I've said that right. And the word means you may or you choose. And it's what Toria just said, I think it was you, Vashti, as well, that there are times when you have no choice. And in these books, it comes out that, you're restricted because of your class, because of poverty, because of war, that you have no choice. This is the life that you have been given and you carry on with it. But somehow you do have choices. You have the choice to do something good. You have the choice to make a difference to others. And it comes out of these books, and these are lessons for us, and so for me, all the books, and I've got them here and I've stashed them, I've stacked them. I am not as organized as Rich, and they're all over the place, and they're here, and there is a theme running through all of them, and it is about social justice or social injustice, and I come back to that theme over and over again, and it keeps hitting me in the gut because we are still living in the world where it is still not fair and it's still not just. We talk about books like Ones and After the War, where we're going back more than half a century and there was such injustice then. And yet there is still injustice now. And our children are living lives that are not as good as they can be. So that are my thoughts for this evening, really.
No, I everything that you're saying resonates with me, and while you've all been talking, I just put something out there in the YouTube chat, actually, just asking the listeners, the viewers actually, what books have really resonated with them, and so Louise Elliott says No Ballet Shoes in Syria. All of Lisa Thompson's books resonate with me too. I haven't read that one. Have any of you?
No, I've heard of it. You
have, Vashti?
Yeah, I really loved it, and Lisa's books as well. I'm such a fan of Lisa's writing. She's got a new one out this month actually, which I haven't read yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. But she just, she's kind of one of these authors that really, I don't know, I kind of, as soon as I open the book, it sort of transports me in, and I'm with the characters on their journey. But she's a great author.
Yeah, and I like the way Rich is actually writing down a book that he has not read.
I haven't.
I know. I love that. We found a book that Rich hasn't read.
I have one of the other books I was going to recommend. I'm sneaking.
Okay, no, not yet. No, just rein yourself in. We're not doing that yet because we're talking. So Louise is also saying A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness is another, which broke me. Have we? Yeah. So we were nodding away at that one. Lizzie is saying, that actually, Sharifa, Lizzie is completely agreeing with you. She said it's what we take away from the book. Totally agree with the big yin. And here we go. We've got one of the books I've used for years. It still makes me cry every time I read it. It's Michael Morpurgo's The Best Christmas Present in the World. So just sharing. Oh, there we go. And Holly says, Anjali hit me and gave me a reality check. So, just thought I'd share a couple of those from the viewers because I think that's really important. So, Rich, just wait, is Richard here? Richard keeps popping in and out. Are you here, Richard? Yay! Richard, while you're here, talk Steinbeck. Go. No, he's frozen again.
I am, but I've got northern broadband at the moment. It's just not working very well.
No, well, we're really pleased that you're here. Sharif has just talked about East of Eden, and I know that you're a great Steinbeck fan, and that actually many of his novels really, really hit you in the gut. So do you want to talk to us about them whilst you have connectivity?
Oh, you can see me, can you? Right, okay.
We can see you, so just fire away and talk.
John Steinbeck, fantastic. Grapes of Wrath, really, really important because it's about people who are... Am I frozen?
No, you're not.
Right, well, there you go.
Moving everything.
I'll text it.
No, we can see you. You're there. You are absolutely there. We can see you. We can hear you.
I will do. John Steinbeck, Grapes of Wrath. I'm here. Yes. Can you hear me? Good. Looks like I'm probably one of those old-fashioned photo booths. I'm trying to hold the phone. Based about 100 years ago, people who are trying to find a better life. They are from the same country, they're just from a different environment, a different part of the country, and they're trying to get to California. They've been promised that California, there's all this work, they'll be living in orange groves, they'll be making all this money, it'll be fantastic. And of course, as they start their journey there, it turns out to be quite the opposite. And you really, really feel for these people because you can see it's not going to work out. They don't know it yet because they're on the journey, and it doesn't have an happy ending. And sometimes people don't. But the most important thing about these people is they don't lose their dignity. And that, for me, is the most important thing. And there are lots and lots of connections between the people, the Okies, who set off to California, and lots of people who travel. And there is that thing about no matter how many times you're shunned, no matter how many times you're treated badly.
Oh. No, I think he's frozen again.
And that for me is the most important part. And with any book like that, you empathize, you feel it. As a child, it teaches you how to feel. As an adult, it reminds you how to feel. And those are the most important things I think about those books, because history changes, but it goes in cycles. The things that those people were...
Oh, he's gone again. I don't know about you lot, but I was getting an awful lot out of that. I love that. Books teach you how to feel. Really love that, actually. As a child, they teach you how to feel, and as an adult, they you relearn how to feel. Really, really powerful.
Yeah, because you take something of the book that you're reading, you take it and you learn about yourself as a person and your place in the world and the world around you. So it might be from a point in history, like we've mentioned, books set during like World War II and things. And different points in history, but these themes are ever present through history and now, and they keep recurring, and we have to keep learning lessons from them, because these ugly beasts will keep rearing their heads, unfortunately, as we well know.
Absolutely. Sharifa, do you think that's why you're drawn to social inequality in text?
Yes, I think it is, and I like what Richard said about history being cyclical, and it is, isn't it? The themes keep on recurring over and over again, and even when we look further back in history as well, and I've got a few texts as well, when we look at works by even someone like Thomas Hardy as well, so much of that is all about social inequality, and we're looking back at centuries ago, and again, it's a recurring theme, and we still haven't cracked it yet. And these books remind us, actually, and it's lovely. I like what Vashti said about finding your place in the world. It grounds you, but it also makes you realize that there's still a lot of work to do. So a lot of it is fiction. We are talking about fiction, of course, but grounded in reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Rich, talk to me about social inequality in, children's literature at the moment. What books would I look for if I was looking for social inequality and actually putting you on the spot here. If I'm looking for social inequality and I'm really wanting to sort of unpick that with children in my class, what book shall I go for?
Am I allowed to recommend a couple now? Is that
okay? Yes, but can I just say your first segment where you decided to recommend the war thing went on for 9 minutes?
No way.
Seriously, you can seriously talk books, boy. You really
can.
As soon as we get going. Yeah,
as soon as 9 minutes.
So what I'm going to do is I might go like this. If you see me do that, you know you've won. Far away, Rich. And I think we've got Richard back as well, so I'm going to pop him into the stream.
Yeah. Actually, it's really interesting actually listening to the books that other people are recommending, because these are a series of books. There's three short stories together in this sort of anthology, and then this is the last in the 4 books by Anthony McGowan. This one called Lark, which won the Carnegie Medal last year as well, deservedly so. But it's really interesting because it's about a pair of brothers. And it links into an awful lot of the other stories that we've talked about, where there's a pair of brothers, or a pair of people facing adversity and things like that together as well. Actually, the Cone Gatherers that Vashti was talking about is another one that's an example of that, isn't it? And some of the Steinbeck novels are a pair of people sort of facing challenges together, but with their own personalities and things. So that's interesting. I would say that these are about a pair of brothers, Nicky and Kenny, who live with dad, don't have a great life, poverty, mental health issues, mum's disappeared and isn't on the scene, facing bullying, facing adversity, facing lots of challenges, and just amazing books. I would say probably Key Stage 3 because of language and content and things like that. So year 7, 8 upwards. But these 2 books, I think I wrote a review about these ones, and I said that having read these books, I wanted to stand beside these 2 boys and cry with them and fight with them and play with them. And I just wanted to be there for them. It's just those books are so realistic. They're very gritty, set in a social landscape where people are pretty horrible to the 2 boys, and they're taken advantage of and they're bullied. And the ending pulls no punches of Lark as well. But yeah, I would say those are a definite recommendation. Looking lower down than that, I'm struggling to think of something on the spot. You might have to come back to me about that one. I don't know if Richard's got any ideas about things like that as well.
I'll come back to you, because while we've got Richard here, Richard, you went off just, are you there, Richard, or have you frozen? Oh, I think he's frozen again. I'm not sure. Are you there, Richard? Richard, can you hear us? Oh, really frustrating, because actually I wanted him to talk about the Okies and the outside of it, because I thought that was really, really powerful. It is the concept of those outsiders and the inequalities within. Vashti, as an author, and as we're talking about delving into emotions and all that, how did it feel? This sounds really bizarre. I'm just fascinated. How did it feel when you found out that your writing was going to get published?
Do you know what? Like, best feeling in the world. I must say, do you know, I just feel so lucky, because I do the job that I would most love to do in the whole. I do think it's the best job in the world. I bet a lot of people think that about their jobs, but it's a privilege to do what I do, and I just feel so lucky. And I think, going back to being a child and being, just an average kid with not much money, parents didn't really read to me. You would say, parents didn't go to university or anything. You would say the odds were maybe stacked against me becoming an author, or certainly how I felt. I didn't think it was something that someone like me could do. I thought it was something that people somehow up there did. And we do that, don't we? We put other professions sometimes on pedestals as kids, and we don't believe that it's something that someone like us can do. We feel a bit like normal, or forgotten. A lot of children might feel forgotten, or that they. And so sorry, I'll keep on talking and you froze a bit then, but hopefully you can still hear me. So for me, actually getting a book deal and living the dream that I always wanted as a child, and learning going through that process of believing in myself. And books have a lot to do with that, because you do learn about yourself through books, and you learn how to be a warrior, don't you? You learn how to be a hero in your own life, in whatever way that means to you. So for me, it was I reached a point in my life where I just thought, well, why not me? These people are people that write books, so I want to do it. Why not me? So that was a long answer to a short question, but it felt amazing. But part of, when I visit schools and things, or do virtual at the moment, I want every child to feel like, if that is their dream, follow whatever your ambition or dream is. Believe that someone like you, it's just as valid for you as anybody else. And books kind of give us that gift of imagination and believing in ourselves, or learning to believe and have confidence in yourself, and resilience in learning, and being bold and brave, and all these lovely things that you need in life these days.
How powerful is that? That is so powerful. Sorry, I don't know whether you can hear me, but that is really inspiring as well. I'm just thinking about what you've just said. And, the thing is, you are now modeling that anyone who has the aspiration to be an author can be an author, whether they're in school, out school, whatever their age is. But on reflection as well, books gives you a voice, whether you are an author, because you want your voice to be heard. But when you're reading it, and this is why today's theme is all about that emotional kick, isn't it? That it gives you a voice as well, because it resonates with you. Whatever your experiences are, when you pick up a book and you're so deep in it, it's because there's that emotional connection, and it two ways, whether you are the author using your voice, to get out there to the masses, for people to listen, or if you're a reader to think, I recognize this story, I recognize it because this is me, or I've seen it. And it also gives your voice a different kind of voice. And that's about, this book salon is about that as well. Tori has given us a voice, but it's to give others a voice as well, talking about books. So lovely theme there.
Yeah, I think absolutely spot on. And Vashti, people have been commenting on the passion with which you talked, and you absolutely did. That passion oozes out of your books. But I think what you're saying is it's so right. It is about finding your voice, whether you're an author or whether you're a reader. And at this precise moment, seamlessly, I'm going to give Rich Simpson his voice.
Yay!
Are you on time? Hang on. Has he got a limit?
Well, this is debatable. Rich, how long are you talking for?
What have we got? How long have we got left?
We're on 9:33, but because we've got no Richard, you can do. Yeah, you don't be so excited now. Oh, we've got no Richard. I get to do longer.
Oh, shame.
Right.
Sorry, Richard. Sorry.
Go on, just go for it, Rich.
Well, actually, John, the first book I'm going to talk about is this one, because we talked the other day about books that sort of resonate with us. I don't know if any of you have read that one, The Crimson Petal and the White, by Michelle Faber. It was made into a terrible BBC drama a few years ago, and it really didn't work. It just didn't come across well at all. I had a habit a while ago of going into a bookshop, and they had their buy two get the third book free for a while, was the way that they did lots of promotions. So what I did was I bought the two books that I wanted, and the third book was a book that I would never have paid for, and I challenged myself to pick up something that I wouldn't have gone in and normally bought, that was way outside my comfort zone. And my reasoning was, I'll give it a go. I haven't paid for it. If I don't like it, that's all right. I haven't, it's a missed opportunity. And this was one of those books I picked up, and I thought, well, not quite sure. A bit of sort of Victorian melodrama. It's about a Victorian prostitute called Sugar, and it's an underdog story about how she works her way up from that position to being in the household and the mistress and the eventual wife of who was potentially one of her clients, who becomes a member of high society in Victorian times. And it's absolutely incredible. I remember sitting in the staff room at my primary school at lunchtime reading this, and the other other lady teachers, because I was the only male teacher, going, what on earth are you reading a book like that for? And in a way, that made me want to read it even more, because I thought, oh, I can read whatever I like. Thanks very much, actually. But that book stayed with me. The character of Sugar in that story is one of the most powerful characters, I think, that I've ever read in a story. Really, really enjoyed that book. So a bit, definitely not children's lit, though. Can I just say that? I'm not recommending anyone read that in their primary school classroom. Right. Powerful stories. That one. Looking at some of the stuff that's happening in America at the minute. This is Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes, Dr. Jewel Parker Rhodes. And it's about a young black boy in America who is mistakenly shot by the police, who think he's got a gun. And he comes back as a ghost and witnesses the aftermath of what happens. And you see the impact of what's happened on his family. You see the impact of what's happened on the other children who know him, who caused him to be in that situation, the guilt that they feel. You also see, and the key relationship in it is that he appears as a ghost, and he can be seen by the daughter of the policeman that shot him. And she comes to his point, and she's torn between feeling, it's my dad that did this, but this boy, this ghost who was shot, is telling me a different story. And it's just unbelievably powerful. Again, treat with big caution in the classroom because of the issues around it, and lots of support and lots of discussion, but very, very contemporary and very prescient, I think, of things that are happening, sadly, still in America. So that's one to recommend. This book, The Hungry Ghost, is the one I recommended to Sharifa the other day, so I thought I have to mention this, by H.S. North. And this is about a girl called Freya who goes to Singapore and is there at the time of the Festival of the Hungry Ghost, hence the name. The descriptions of Singapore in it are absolutely incredible. It makes me want to go to one of the street food markets and just absolutely fill my face with the food and the smells and the sights and everything. It's brilliant. It's brilliantly atmospheric. But the story of Freya and how she gets to grips with her new life situation in it is really, really powerful as well, because she's really not happy sort of settling into this new family that she's with her dad out there. But a really, really powerful story about finding yourself and finding meaning in things and dealing with things, and really, really hopeful, actually. A really, really nice story about being happy and finding happiness where you didn't think it was possible to find. I bid for a copy of this in an auction, and the author Hella has inscribed it with the last line of the book, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. The last line is about this girl who's sort of found herself, and this is her parting message is, I can't see the stars, but I know that they're there, an infinite number of lights in my expanding universe. And it's seeing the stars and the universe is getting bigger and better for her. And it's a brilliant book. The description in it is absolutely fantastic as well. I'd say that's a sort of year 5, 6.
Oh yeah. And yeah, basically I've got, is it suitable for primary and what age? So year 5, 6, perfect.
Yeah, upper primary. Really nice as well, though, because there's lots of links in that one to traditional tales from other cultures and the festivals of other cultures and other places as well. So quite a nice way to do that sort of thing. I held this one up earlier and you stopped me talking. I haven't got the actual full book, I'm afraid. Sorry. But this one, following on from the no ballet shoes in Syria, is another sort of refugee story. And what I really liked about this, again, a really powerful story, really current. Lots of the stories that children will see on the news reflected in what happens to the characters in this book. It's about a boy called Sammy, who's a 13-year-old, and he's absolutely uprooted from his life and ends up with his family fleeing Damascus. And what I really liked about this is that the stereotype of the refugee and the sort of the poverty and things like that, he's from a wealthy family, and it can happen to anybody. He's from a wealthy family, and that all changes in the blink of an eye in how they have to get to England. Very powerful in how they're treated along the way by lots of other people and taken advantage of. So lots of discussion around that as well. Very and how they're treated when they get to England by their own family, by their own friends, and by other people as well. So, you know, a very powerful book. Again, I would say probably year 6, 7 upwards, because of the content and because of the themes and stuff mentioned in that. I see somebody asking about Ghost Boys. I would say Ghost Boys is probably year 7, just because of the theme in it of, you know, shooting and violence and things that you need to be really careful about that one. Can I keep going? I've got a couple more. Is that okay?
I tell you what, I'm going to stop you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to discussion, and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
So, just as you mentioned stereotypes, just for people watching, I just want to say that a future Tiny Voice Talks book salon, we are actually going to have the theme of stereotypes. We'll be discussing that. Oh my gosh, we've lost Vashti now. She was doing so well. But hey ho. Actually, this is actually, in a sense, more for the educators than the authors. I want to know, so I've written a question down. Should we avoid emotional books in school? Because a couple of those books you said, oh, be careful, but should we avoid them in school? And if not, what do we need to do in order to manage the emotion and the themes within it that are causing the emotion? Rich, I will come to you first, and then Sharifa.
I think books are the perfect way of actually looking at the emotions, and looking at you watch the news and you see these stories about shootings and the Black Lives Matter protest that came from those shootings and things, and children are watching that, and, you know, 6 o'clock news doesn't really explain everything that's going on there and doesn't put it in a way that they can contextualize. In a book like that one, they're seeing it from lots of other people's points of view. It makes it accessible, it makes it understandable, and they need to be able to deal with those emotions. You know, if they're watching the news and seeing these horrible things happening and worry about what's happening without exploring it and talking about it, how do they deal with it? How do they express it? The worry, the concern, how do they get to understand it if you don't discuss it and read books and talk about things more? So, you know, it doesn't always have to be a fiction book. You can actually look at, you know, non-fiction, look at news, look at reports, investigate it that way as well. But I think it's really important that actually we do look at emotions and we do look at problematic themes in school to help children be able to deal with them when they occur in their real lives. Yeah,
absolutely. Sharif, I'm going to come to you now. Inequality, is it good to deal with it through books, in your opinion?
I think it's a fabulous, sort of a fabulous channel for actually looking at inequality as well, because you can take your time with books, because you are almost reading either chapter by chapter or sentence by sentence. Yeah. And I think the main thing that you need, I think what educators and teachers need to do is to plan really carefully as well, because I think you can't, for something as powerful as some books where the themes are quite emotional as well, you can't just start reading without thinking and planning. Knowing your audience and knowing that the children that you serve, the ones that are in your school, is absolutely crucial as well. Something that I did today, actually, because I was writing a newsletter for the parish council as well, and you talked about how it doesn't have to be fiction. So I actually looked at the speech by Martin Luther King today, I Have a Dream, you know, and I went through line by line. I did it really slowly as well, because I wanted it to resonate and reflect what's happening now, you know. And I was just thinking then how this could be used yet again in school, because it is so relevant. You know, why are we not discussing and using books, speeches, and authors and the material as well in school? All it takes is a little bit more planning and thinking.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think it's interesting what you said about, I forget which of you said it, but it suddenly pinged into my head that some people will cover books in class that they have never ever read. They've just had it recommended to someone, and that you actually have to know a book inside out before you teach it. So one of the ones I did with my class, which is year 4, is when the war came, or the day the war came, which is so powerful. Picture book, really, really powerful. But I knew what was coming. So therefore, when I was reading it to the children, I knew how to manage the level of emotion in class, because it is a very, very, very emotional text. And I think what you said there, Sharif and Rich, we need to plan for it, and we need to know those books is absolutely vital. But I also agree it's completely the way to deal with some really, really tricky issues. And actually, Holly said that she wished that she'd have more exposure to the depth of literature in school as a child. And I think what you said about the non-fiction stuff, Sharifa, absolutely vital. Those speeches, picking them apart. Wow, how amazing. What about you, Vashti? When you're writing your books, are you aware of dealing, or are you aware of writing the topic subjects that are going to cause an emotional sort of charge within your reader?
I think in a way, it's the emotion that gives it depth for me. And you know, I might create fantasy worlds and have lots of invention and fun and adventure in it as well, but the heart of a story is the emotion that you're going to sort of put your characters through and put the readers through by, you know, kind of going, you know, I like to think of the reader being, you know, beside the characters, you know, holding their hand, almost going on this journey with them. And a good book should do that. It should transport you beside the characters and take you on that journey beside them. So for me, the emotional story, the heart of it, the journey of the character, the main character. Sorry, it froze then on me, but hopefully you heard that. Yeah. Kind of the emotional journey, the arc of the character, as we kind of say, is the core of it. So for me, it's by posing those big questions in my world that kind of take you there. So for example, maybe in something like Wild Spark, where there's this society where they can bring ghosts back, and it's the story, you know, that there is this amazing world with these lifelike robots that they can bring back ghosts in. But at the heart of the story, there's a girl who's lost her brother and she's grieving and she wants to find a way back to him, and she's coming to terms with that through the story. And there's all the questions in the story for children to think about, you know, if you could bring back humans, if you could have a second life, what does that mean? And then I kind of add in another sort of layer of, well, what if those ghosts, those second lifers, can't remember their first life? What does that mean? How do other people treat them? Is there sort of a, you know, do people look down on them? Does it bring in another layer of social inequality then? And, you know, automatically society starts to divide again. And all these layers that you put in are what gives your story depth. So yes, in answer, I do think a lot about it. And because that's, you know, I like to think myself. I like to be challenged and constantly assessing and trying to make sense of the world. So I do that through my stories. I kind of put those questions in there. You're not necessarily trying to answer them as an author, but you're playing with them, and you're sort of giving them to the readers to see what they do with them too, and see what they think, which is a lovely place to be in.
It really is. It really is. Rich, I'm going to come back to you for another couple of book recommendations before our final bit. I know, yes, he says. Go for it.
Right. Okay, this one. I reckon this is probably going to be one of the big books this year that everybody's talking about. The cover is just spectacular on this cover as well. It's called The Last Bear by Hannah Gould.
Yeah.
And it's addressing climate change. It's about a girl who goes to the Arctic to research. Dad's a researcher, and she and he live there almost in isolation. He is so caught up, the dad, I don't want to spoil it, in issues that he's trying to move on from, that he doesn't actually have time for the daughter. So she goes off exploring and she finds bear. And it's about the girl's relationship with this bear and trying to rescue this polar bear that's been stranded on the island because the ice has melted and he can't get back. And it's beautiful. It's beautifully written. The messages about climate change, about caring and things like that, and are absolutely lovely as well. So that's coming out later this year, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Really, really good book. These ones, interesting, talking about representation and things like this. This pair of books, ta-da, The Good Hawk, came out last year by Joseph Elliott, who a lot of people probably know as one of the pirates on the BBC, the Swashbuckle programme. There's Hook, Line and Sinker. Then they end up in the Gunge at the end of every series, and he's sort of comedy actor, and he's in all the CBeebies pantomimes and stuff like that. he can write. Let me tell you, he can write. This book came out last week, and it's part of a trilogy called the Sky Shadow Trilogy. By a character called Jamie and a girl called Agatha. Now, Agatha, it's never quite called Down syndrome, but it's she's got Down syndrome, but she's got special powers, and it's about the prejudice she faces, but the fact that all of a sudden she turns from being, I mean, there's at one stage where there's a lot of clan rivalry. It's like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, but sort of based in Scotland, with people that can talk to animals and rival clans and an evil king that wants to take over. And it's brilliant. It's proper fantasy sort of adventure fiction. I'd say probably year 7 plus. Yes, Vashti. Have you read it, Vashti?
No, give it to me.
Anything that's fantasy and adventure.
So good. But the representation is the big thing, and that's why I need to come back to that. The representation. You've got Agatha, who is, Down syndrome, lots of challenges, but turns out to be the hero. And what's amazing in this book is the different voices that are created for the characters. You could read a chapter of this and not know who it was by, but you could tell from the way it's written. It's written in 3 really distinct voices brilliantly. The other character, Jamie, is a boy who has lots of anxiety and sort of mental health problems that are, again, not shied away from in here. Also coming to terms with sort of sexuality and issues like that as well. So there's representation of him coming to terms with that and not being accepted by his clan. But another clan does accept that way of living. And he sort of questions, well, why, if they can do it, can I not do it? It's brilliant. So I highly recommend that one. Really, really good story. Are we still going? Can I? Oh my God. This one's a bit Christmassy, but I really like it, and I'm very aware that I've recommended lots of books for sort of year 6, 7, and upwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you got any picture books? Because I'm really conscious that I actually use, but when I'm dealing with emotion, I tend to do picture books for year 4. So I was just wondering what you had.
Yeah, this one's
got 2 minutes.
2 minutes, right? Okay, right. So lovely. About a little girl who finds out that the snow angel, when you make a snow angel in the snow, a real angel starts to watch you from above. And when you get in trouble, that angel comes to help you out. And she works this out. So she deliberately tries to get herself into trouble because she likes the angel and she wants him to come and help her. And it's brilliant. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the way that this little girl cares for this angel and wants him so much and misses him when he's not there, and she works out a way of sharing that love that she has for him and getting other people to be able to have that as well. It's a beautiful book about sort of hope and love and caring for people, and that's brilliant as well. I will try and have more picture books next time. Look up, I think we've probably talked about before.
That's great.
A really, really nice book about, reaching for the stars. Literally, you've got Rocket, who is obsessed with astronomy and comets and seeing a comet, a meteorite sort of stream that she wants to see. Nobody listens to her. Nobody really wants to do it. Her brother's fixated on his phone the whole time. Yes. So there's quite a nice wordplay here. She wants to look up and see the stars. She wants her brother to look up from his phone and notice her and take notice of her. And it's a really lovely story about things coming together and people starting to care more about each other than other things that sort of they're fixated on. So there's a couple of picture books there for you if that's helpful.
I love the book Look Up, and I love the way it concludes. It just is one of those ones that just sets your soul alight, really. I was just coming to Vashti and she keeps disappearing. Vashti, next time we are going with a theme that you have sort of come up with, which is all about family, isn't it? I forget exactly how you described it. I need to look in my book. It was what makes family. And that's going to be our theme next time. And we have got, we've got yourself, we've got James Nichol, author, joining us, and we've also got Simon Smith joining us next time to talk. And yes, for everyone watching, I am going to allow Rich to record a long segment of recommendations. Don't worry, Rich, you'll still get your recommendation slot, but hold your horses. You'll get just Honestly, it's really difficult to rein in, isn't he? Vashti, can you just talk to us about that theme and why it resonated with you so that people know what's going to come up next month? And while I look up the date.
Yeah, so finding family or what makes family? It's always a recurring theme in my in my stories, and something I'm fascinated by. I think that we're the family that we're born into. It's that nature nurture kind of thing. Like none of us have got any choice in that yet. What part of it family makes us and where we find family is infinitely fascinating to me, and what sort of makes family when maybe your blood family when there's a disconnect there or a letdown, a disappointment, it doesn't mean that, or sadness or loss, it doesn't mean that family can't be found in unexpected places and in different ways. So I think it's going to be really fun to chat about that for sure. So I'm really excited. And lovely James Nichol, who's an absolute sweetheart. So I'm really excited that he's going to be joining us too.
Absolutely. So if you're watching this and you think actually it's a really interesting theme and I would like you to talk about, something to do with it, just use the hashtag Tiny Voice Talks Book Salon. Very long hashtag, I know, but that will just help us to actually catch you. And so Sharif, what do you think about our theme next month?
I think it's fabulous, and again, it's the same thing, isn't it? It comes back to what we talked about at the beginning as well about choices. We can't really choose the family that we were born into, but we can make choices as well along the way about who becomes our family. It could be the people you were born into, but it could be because of circumstances or whatever it is that you find a different family. It could be your friends or your neighbors become part of your extended family as well. So I think it's something that everyone will understand, and it will resonate with anyone and everyone, because we all come with different experiences of our understanding of family.
I completely agree. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, definitely. I had one book which I was going to talk about. This one, which is all to do with that one. It's called October.
You can hold it up for a bit.
That one, I'll hold it up again. Vashti, talking about family and finding family. That, I don't know if you've read that one. That one's brilliant. It's about a girl who lives with her dad in the woods, off grid, and something happens which means she can't stay with him anymore, and she has to go back to her mum, who, in her opinion, abandoned her and left her. And she refuses to even address her as mum for a lot of the book. She's like, the lady that says she's my mother. And it's just brilliant. It's about that whole family relationship and finding and building that relationship back up again. So that's a brilliant one as well. It's a theme in lots of the books we've talked about, isn't it? And especially like Sharifa said, I'm thinking back to the Broken Raven and the Good Hawk, the Joseph Elliott books. The characters in those books are part of clans. And that's almost like their family, and they're trying to find the right place for them to fit in. So like Sharifa said, it's not necessarily blood. It's about finding your place as family, as a place, rather than family as a blood or a relative thing as well. And yeah, definitely it's a big thing in lots of books, isn't it?
Can I just ask then, is it finding your identity? Because that's what it is, isn't it? It's finding yourself in a place or in a situation, but that's how you identify yourself.
Yeah,
I think it's a really interesting one, which is why we've, I think that idea of Vashti is the what makes family, because actually it's not simplistic. It's not sort of, I'm pretty sure that all of us have a different concept of our family and what makes up our family. And that's why I love the fact that authors deal with it in so many different ways. And then we as educators take that into our classrooms. And we are in our classes with the 30 children in front of us. Most of those children will have a different concept of family, depending on their background, who looks after them, where they're growing up and so on. And I think that's it's so important to unpick it, really. And that's what this book salon's all about. It's unpicking those themes so that actually as educators and as authors, we're really beginning to think more about, you know, the themes as opposed to just reading the books. Vashti, you keep popping in and out, darling. That is taking place, everyone, on Tuesday, the 9th of February. So it is 8 o'clock. Final thoughts, everyone, on books that really shift and move you. Sharifa Lee.
Gosh, and like I said, I have a stash, and it's over the years I've read, but I think one book that really resonates, and I'm sure some of you have seen this, it's The Alchemist by Paul, and I can't even pronounce the second name if anyone can help me. Is it Coelho or Coelho? And you know, it's something else as well. And it could be a theme for one of our book salons.
Let me write it down. Just wait. Let me write it. I've got the pen.
It might be there. It might be there. It's about journeys. It's not just a physical journey, but it's also about your emotional, mental, and spiritual journey as well. And I think that's something else that we can talk about. That books give us that sense of spirituality as well. And it's not just physical, you know, it's metaphysical. We come out of ourselves, we are transformed, and we go on that journey as well. I think that's something else that perhaps we can talk about.
Love that. I really like that idea for a theme. Rich, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the reason you read a book is because you've connected with something when you picked it up, haven't you? In the blurb, or something about the characters, or something about the story has connected with you in some way, and so feeling the emotion just shows how tied in you are with it. And that's sort of, for me, the point of reading, isn't it? Is to feel or to experience either something that I already have, so I can remember and link it to that, or to try and get an experience of something that I haven't experienced myself, and see how I feel about those things as well. So my head's already racing through recommendations for the family show already next.
I knew it would be. You see, that's what's dangerous.
Can I ask Rich a practical question? Because honestly, I will not be the only one. It will be anyone who's listening in. When do you find the time?
I asked him this on Saturday, didn't I, Rich?
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I swear to goodness, I asked him that exactly on Saturday.
I've really struggled recently. I wasn't well over Christmas. I caught the dreaded COVID, and I've really struggled to focus recently. But I usually am reading about 5 books at a time, Sharifa. I've got a book an audio book on the car. I've got a book by my bedside. I've got a book that I carry around with me, so any spare minute I can sit and read. I'm reading one to my daughter, one to my son, one to my class in school. And then I've got the ones that I sort of review, that I get sent a few copies for, that I sort of sit and make myself do, almost like a work task as well. So, I read quickly. I do read quickly. I said to Toria, there are times when I sort of skim read through a book, but then there are other books that I'll sit and sort of really take my time over as well. So it comes up and down. But yeah, I probably read about 8 books a week at the minute.
It's yeah, I know, madness, really, but very useful from our point of view with your recommendations. Hazel, says you don't sleep.
Yeah.
Vashti, I'm not sure if you're there or if you've gone again. You keep blurring. I'm hopeful that you're there, but I don't think you are, my love.
She's got a gorgeous smile. I mean, she's frozen.
She's got a lovely smile. She's frozen with the most gorgeous smile. I want to say thank you so much to our 2 authors, Vashti Hardy and Richard O'Neill, because they have had technical problems, but actually they really, really did persevere to remain with us as much as possible tonight. Rich and Sharifa, I want to say thank you so much to you. Sharifa, I always like your insights. Rich, I don't know what we do without all your book recommendations, and you're reading 8 books a week. So just bear in mind that next theme is family, and we've also got journeys on the horizon. We've also got inequalities on the horizon. We've got a number of great themes. And for people out there that are watching, if there's a theme that you would like us to cover, please get in touch. Use the hashtag Tiny Voice Talks Book Salon, or get in touch with either Rich, Sharifa, myself, Vashti, or indeed Richard O'Neill. And I do think Vashti is back for a final word. Vashti. Go for it, I love.
I was just thinking, I want to if we can invent something so we can plug into Rich's brain and just kind of download the experiences of reading. I'm buying into that. Crowdfund it, Richard.
So I think that'd be amazing. We'd make a mint, wouldn't we?
That's like some sort of sci-fi fantasy drama. I'm not sure I like the idea of being a
Oh, my
character.
brain works.
What you can read, you know,
Actually, that's the next book.
there are
next
these
book,
apps that you can get that condenses books for you. Rich, could you do that? Could you be an app that we just tap into and think, yep, that's it, I've got it. I'd buy it.
I love that. Vashti, give us the final thought on emotion in books before we leave.
Well, you froze on me then, but I'll keep chatting. Sorry, I missed what you said, Maria, but I'll keep talking. My final thought is find a new broadband provider. But I think on emotional resonance, I think seeking out those books that pluck the heartstrings in whatever way. It can be in a joyful way, it can be in a thoughtful way. Look to poems, look to books with facts, look to all sorts of different picture books, the full range to find the emotional content. So we can go on these journeys, on these rides together, these human experiences. It's a magical thing, magical place to be as an author and as a reader, myself as well. So I love Rich's recommendations. I just want to pause time so I can read all those. But yeah, just seek them out, use them in your classroom. And also for teachers, if your children ever have questions about it, reach out to the authors on Twitter, tag us. Like we love having these discussions with you and chewing things over and giving you our insights as well as to why we might have chosen different themes. So reach out to us. We're real.
They are. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much to the real Vashti Hardy. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Sharifa. And thank you to Richard O'Neill for his perseverance, although sadly his broadband got the better of him. Thank you, everyone that's watching, and join us next month, 9th of February, Tuesday, 9th of February, where we talk all about families. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.